I said, give me a hell yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to an AEW Championship stealing, a Cardiff crushing, Chad Gable pushing episode of the Brothers of Discussion. We're going to cover everything from Jericho's drunken mishaps to Walter and Tyler Bate having match of the year, nay, match of the century.
Oh my God.
Update you on all the King of the Ring bracket busting outcomes. Matt, another hot week of hot pro wrestling. How the heck are you?
I'm doing good, and we're only a week away from Clash of Champions because I was watching NXT just now and realizing we're gonna do our wrap up for NXT UK and AEW All Out today, and then next week we have to do our preview for Clash of Champions. It never ends. And then the week after that, we're gonna be talking NXT on USA. And then a couple weeks after that, we have to build up AEW's first show on TNT.
The wrestling wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Actually, that 1 week is going to be huge because it's going to be AEW on TNT, and then SmackDown's going to move to Fox. And you're going to have Undertaker and The Rock and Stone Cold showing up. They're going to go all out with that $1 billion they got to be on Fox.
Money.
Any hoozles. If you want to see...
Speaking of money,
yeah.
Matt, tell the people where they can find some money, hot blogs, compliments of Matt Truly.
Yeah!
Where are they?
Mike, we had a blog come out this week. First one in a while, and I was super proud of it. I even begged you for an honest opinion so that while it was out there, if somebody went to the website, they're like, oh, that's why they don't blog anymore. So, it's good. Some honest opinions and some fixes for AEW. You want to go to bodpodcast.com or brothersofdiscussion.com. That's right. This podcast not only knows how to talk, Mike, we know how to type and write and use Grammarly. So unlike those other podcasts out there that just give you a live feed and then they answer your silly questions, but really, are they any good at talking? Are they entertaining? No, they're just pimply pizza eaters that don't really know how to entertain you. And we're here to entertain. Listen to my voice. I'm so excited. I'm happy. I'm ready to go.
Listen
and
to you.
And you're only going to get that if you follow us on Twitter at BOD Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram.
If you don't follow us, for the love of God, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to grab your throat. And then I'm going to put your head next to a phone. And then I'm going to get, if you have an iPhone, I'm going to get
keep going.
The podcast app. And then I'm going to go to Brothers of Discussion. And then I'm going to download the first episode. And then I'm going to make you listen to it.
Yeah.
And then, if you have an Android phone, so help me, I'm going to get whatever you have. Maybe it's a SoundCloud, and I'm going to put your head in your phone, and you're going to listen to it.
It's a Google Play. So yeah, now
That's
that
right.
you hear how thoroughly entertained you'll be listening to this show.
And if you use Spotify, so help me, and if you aren't following us, I'm going to come over there and take your phone, open up Brothers of Discussion, and I'm going to hit follow.
Just open up each episode. Like, just let them all run, right? Just hit play, go to sleep, and just go back and hit awesome. Comment awesome for each episode. That's what we need from you.
I want all three of those.
But on top of, so I got halfway through our social media. On top, I got a third of the way. Twitter, at BOD Podcast. Mike, Instagram, just go ahead and search Brothers of Discussion. How easy is that? Facebook, same old game there, Brothers of Discussion, or at BOD Podcast. So it's kind of a combo of those last two. And of course, our live wrestling discussion that doesn't only discuss WWE, as our good friend Chris M Oh boy. You know that he has Google alerts for AEW. I'm just gonna say that, Chris. If you're listening, we know you have a Google alert for AEW because nobody shares.
We know you have an AEW subscription.
Nobody shares an AEW article faster than Chris M. Chris, thanks for keeping us updated on everything AEW. We appreciate it here at Brothers of Discussion. But of course, if you want everything else, if you want all those opinions, be a little bit more entertaining, a little more fast-paced like this voice here, go, again, to bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. It's the hub for everything Brothers of Discussion. And moving forward into the future, just a couple weeks away from our alliance with the Hockey Podcast Network, where the Brothers of Discussion will be talking. Yes, it's going to be a very niche conversation. We'll be talking Detroit Red Wings hockey, not hockey all over. That can be found for Twitter at BOD Hockey, and we'll also be talking hockey on the Instagram. So a lot of pro wrestling memes and GIFs showing up on Instagram. Also, I'm going to flood you with Red Wing conversation. But yeah, all of that, we are super excited. We're going to be growing, and of course, we're 5 episodes away after this one to hitting episode 100, where we hope to give you so much more, including some merch, including going live, and it's all going to be going 5 weeks from now. So enjoy now. Enjoy the small. We're like a small town right now, but we
have really exciting plans, man.
We're not going to talk about it yet.
You said small town, but this small town, we're breaking out. All right, we're breaking out of hell.
Yeah, like Airborne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, go listen to that new Airborne song. It's pretty great. It's called Rattle Your Bones.
Mondays are
Bone Shaker.
Bone Shaker. Yep. Mondays have Monday Night Raw, which is great.
Yeah.
Wednesdays, they have AEW's weekly program. We don't know what it's called yet. Wednesday night. Nitro. I don't know. In addition to that, there's also going to be NXT Live. In addition to that, what we're going to try to do for you guys is go live Wednesday nights. We're going to try.
Yeah,
do it.
You're not supposed to say it, though. Just in case
we
doesn't
gotta tease it. It's going to happen. We can do it.
5 weeks. All right.
We just make it a promise now, and then they're going to hold us to it.
We can't back down now. We can't.
There's nothing we can do. This is it.
All right.
We're going live on
Well, there
Wednesdays.
it is, folks. There's the promise. Episode 100 will be live right after AEW.
Will there be coverage of SmackDown? I don't know.
Who knows?
It's going to be on Friday. Who watches wrestling on Fridays?
Not me.
Woo! Nobody.
Mike, that's when movies come out.
Yeah, there better be one incredible draft for SmackDown. Like, they better just knock their first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round picks out of the park. I don't know what they're thinking. Matt, let's dive right into the wrestling takes.
Yeah, that was only 8 minutes of plugs. That's
what podcasts are. You know what you were getting into.
Welcome to the Brothers Discussion.
You know what you're getting into. It's the plug show. We just plug you for the next show. Matt, real quick, they officially, there's going to be a draft in October. A draft.
What? We're going to war?
We're going to war.
No.
You and me. Wednesday night war. It's too bad. You're going to war. Go fight for your baby. Pick a side, WWE or AEW. Matt, there's a SmackDown, Raw, maybe NXT draft.
Is it November or October?
What I've seen is October. That's all I've seen. I haven't seen November.
Okay, well, you said November.
Did I? I meant October. I meant pre-November. I
Okay.
meant to say pre-November.
Yeah, November Eve, right?
Yes, November Eve. The day before November.
Also known as September Post.
Late. That's going to be late September.
It's 2 weeks late.
2 weeks past September. Matt, does this move the needle for you? Is there any way that they can get you to not only watch SmackDown, but make it a top priority for the Brothers of Discussion podcast?
I mean, I'm going to be watching it. It's just Friday night is such a bad night.
It's a terrible night. night.
Yeah. I mean, especially with like Disney Plus coming out with all their new shows and the rumors that those are going to be weekly episodic shows. They're not going to be released all at once, and Friday night is going to be the big night so that you're watching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. So, priority may in fact fall, Mike, on a live-action Star Wars show. Huh. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? Maybe a live-action Marvel show. I love pro wrestling, Mike. I really do. But a full week of pro wrestling followed by one day of me watching some dramas that are fueled by lightsabers and superpowers is probably going to be on the higher side of that priority list compared to more wrestling. So that is the risk that they run. I'm saying from myself, and I think from the average human being, maybe not the cycle level wrestler fan, and I mean that in a positive way. The guy who doesn't miss a minute of wrestling, of course, is not going to miss SmackDown. No. But will the draft do anything for me? I don't know. I'm going to come back to the idea that I'll be watching anyway. Maybe not on time, maybe on Hulu, but I'll be watching anyway, so I don't need a draft. I think this is more of them going, okay, the wild card rule was dumb. It brought us bad publicity. But we still need to make Fox happy, and we need to get all the best wrestlers over to SmackDown. And we don't want to keep playing this silly game of the wild card rule. Let's just have a draft and make it official again. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does it move your needle?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good.
I think of all, there's the sides have been drawn. Like people are already kind of saying, I'm not gonna watch AEW. They suck. And then people who aren't Chris M are saying like, let's give it a chance.
I will give it a chance. I don't think you can give it a chance.
But outside of that, I don't know if anyone's really like, I'm gonna be there every week for SmackDown. It sounds like SmackDown is like the bottom priority right now. Like there's Raw, there's the sexy, up and comers at NXT, and then there's the rivals at AEW. I just don't even know where SmackDown comes in.
Yeah. That's
why a draft is kind of a mystery, because it seems like you're gonna have like half the roster, or the way they divvy it up is 40% of the main roster not being watched by anybody. Mm-hmm. If anything, if you're gonna make NXT go live, it's almost like you want to put SmackDown as a network exclusive for, the real hardcore fans. That's the people who are gonna tune in on Friday night.
Yeah.
To watch even more pro wrestling. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there isn't a draft pick that would make me tune in every single Friday. Like you'd watch religiously for the first week or two, but not every single week.
Yeah, you know what? And you're right. That is a great point. Those first couple weeks, of course we're watching. But eventually, Mike, it's going to turn into the thing I watch before the NFL starts on Sunday. Like, I'm going to be up at 10. I don't want to watch pregame for 3 hours, so let's see what happened on SmackDown. We'll put it on double speed, stop at the promos, done. All right, next. Let's put The Office back on. All right. Office on till 1 o'clock. That's right. We're in Eastern time zone here, folks. So that if I looked into my crystal ball, that's going to be my Sunday mornings, is probably catching up on SmackDown. It might happen on Saturdays, but heck, maybe there's an AEW pay-per-view I got to get ready for, because those will be on Saturday. We found out the next one was already scheduled.
I know.
Isn't that great?
So, yeah, the whole week has wrestling on it.
How dumb is a Sunday night show feel now? It feels ludicrous. Like, nobody wants to stay up late on a Sunday. Like, think about the extra parties that could be going on, the bars that could be filled. No, never mind. We'll talk about that later. But if AEW got anything right, it was making that decision. But back to talking about the draft. I should mention, Mike. I've been trying not to drink. So what I did was a full can of cold brew with a splash of Bailey's. So I'm drinking, but I went through that first glass like nothing, and I filled up the second glass with just cold brew, and I am bouncing off the fucking walls right now. And
Nice.
I've got my door closed to try and keep most of the sound in here, and I've got lights everywhere because it's really dark in my basement. So now I'm hotter than balls. My heart's going a million miles an hour right now. I'm probably gonna have a heart attack during this episode. So to help me keep on track. Is the point.
Speaking of hotter than balls, I went on a ghost tour this past weekend in Traverse City, Michigan. And I got ghost hunting equipment, which included a laser thermometer. I thought it would be like a Ghostbusters proton pack, but instead it was a laser thermometer, which you can use to find a ghost. So you said hotter than balls, and I just wanted to confirm that balls are hot. Because I used the laser thermometer on my balls, and they were quite warm.
All right. Did they have a fever?
No, they were healthy balls.
Okay.
Fever-free.
I just didn't. I didn't know if they were above 98.6 is what I was.
They were right above it, like 98.7.
All right, so fever territory.
But here's the segue for you, Matt.
Yeah.
I went on a ghost hunt, and looks like Chris Jericho went on a title belt hunt.
Oh boy.
He could have used a laser thermometer. Woohoo!
Mike, tighten those New Balance white sneakers.
Hey, some of us like dad jokes. Matt, was this a super embarrassing moment, or is Chris probably handling as best as he possibly could?
Mike, the more we learn about this, the more I feel like this title wasn't stolen. It was just like the easiest thing for Jericho to like, it was stolen. There's criminals everywhere trying to get this AEW title. As if somebody's always following Chris Jericho and he's just keeping it inside of a limo that he left in front of a Lone Star Steakhouse. I don't know. So there's rumors that the AEW title, like the official police report says it was just found by someone and not stolen. Two sides of that story, of course, would be that it was actually found. Other side would be the guy doesn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want to give the title back. So he just said he found it rather than saying, I stole it. I'd like to go to jail, please.
Oh my God.
But just this idea, like, the whole thing seems kind of far-fetched to begin with. Like, now that we see that it could have just been found. Like, yeah, I can imagine the guy who was drunk that night celebrating, not the kayfabe, like Chris Jericho's celebrating his victory. I think it was more of like a successful night of AEW wrestling, and that was the celebration. That the title was left behind somewhere, I think is a much more realistic story than it was stolen. And it was better for Chris to turn around and say it was stolen than for the story to come out that this brand that is going to change the industry, their main title was forgotten somewhere. So,
like, it was definitely them, like, scrambling to clean up a mess. So it's not like the writers weren't, it'd be great. Really get us in the news. Let's pretend Jericho lost our prestigious championship belt.
Yeah.
There's no way that happened. So he lost it in some drunken debauchery. And I think that Chris handled it probably as excellently as you could have, because now all he's done is launch 1,000 hilarious memes of people quoting Chris, where he's talking about in his celebration getting a bit of the bubbly.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen them, but my favorite one is the Powerpuff Girls, where they use the introduction and the recipe to make a Powerpuff Girls: sugar, spice, and everything nice, and secret ingredient, a bit of the bubbly.
All right, that's not my favorite one.
That's a really good one. So kudos to Chris for having a major faux pas, and then managing to make it the funniest thing in wrestling for a week. So
And
You know, if you want yet another reason to put Jericho in every wrestling Hall of Fame, it's probably this. I don't know who else could get away with this.
Yeah, and we'll go more into AEW and how that show went. But I will say I'm pretty stoked that the Tallahassee police did post early this morning on Facebook that it was found, right? So we know then there's this other rumor about what the official report says about whether or not it was found or stolen kind of thing. But they took down that post this morning on Facebook. Mike, I'm really hopeful that the writers are going to use this as part of a storyline, and we'll get into it later, but with how boring Hangman Page is, let's turn him into a real cowboy outlaw that he tried to steal the title, right? Let's do it. Let's make him a little more interesting. And if it's not Hangman, probably even better, but I like this idea that it's wrapped up into a storyline because this stuff doesn't just happen. You don't just blow up on social media. Use all that to your advantage.
We're about to
might.
jump into AEW, but let's do some of these quick hits for WWE because I want to talk about what you just said too. So this King of the Ring tournament is kind of moving along, and huge bracket buster. I think everybody's just totally screwed now because Chad Gable took out Andrade.
Gables.
I don't think anyone really saw that coming. I think you and I think we were in lockstep where we said that this King of the Ring tournament should take somebody who's a character and teach the world that this person can actually wrestle too. So basically you're elevating a character into a wrestling entity as well. Gable, we knew he could wrestle, but he can't do the other part.
Yeah. So, right. Go ahead.
Which he, so he got to defeat Andrade.
Oh, well, I mean, if I could, I'd like to jump all over Gable. It's been...
Chad, I don't know if you got to see, but I have a lot of free time. So I was on the WWE website, and they did the post-game interview with Gable. And all he said was, people say a lot of crap. They say I'm short, and it's true, but, I'm other stuff, too. Well, okay.
Yeah, no, me too.
Well,
yeah, I'm other stuff.
No, I don't know. I think what's interesting is that for him to fight Andrade has not really ever cut, a promo in English, and he's got Selena Vega backing him up. So
right.
I think it's kind of interesting to see this passing of the torch with, like a guy getting a push. Like, hey, how about maybe give Chad somebody to speak for him? Like, it's helped elevate Andrade. Why can't we give Gable, that kind of opportunity instead of making him go out there and be like, yeah, people say I'm short, and I'm short. But I won today, so.
Yeah. No,
that was the whole promo. I'm short, but I won.
I mean, what happened on social media was kind of funny to watch because everybody jumped on the Gable train. And it's just, I'm going to say something that's probably going to ruffle some feathers, but I get it. He is a fantastic wrestler. But Mike, you already hinted at that terrible promo and where I'm going with this, but man, he's not a King of the Ring. He's not a main eventer. I see people saying if WWE just invests the time in him, he could become one of the greatest superstars of all time. And I'll say that came off of a Twitter account with quite a few followers, and I would say the 20,000 mark, maybe even someone that we were talking about before the show even started.
Oh no!
Keep in mind the name Mark.
It wasn't Bully Ray, was it?
No.
Okay.
But
he likes stirring the pot.
But it's just this idea that you got to look for the total package. Like that's who the main event superstars should be. It's not just the guy who can give us a good wrestling match. You know what? I'll say it. He can give us a good wrestling match every night. But, damn it all to hell. It's just those promos are not something I care to watch. And I'll just, for the best example I can give for something that is must-watch TV, Mike, I tune in to make sure I see the beginning of every single Adam Cole match. Because that entrance is bananas. Bananas. I love
Yes.
watching the Boom. I love watching the Adam Cole baby. And Chad Gable does not have that charisma. So, is it possible to get a guy with a great technique in regards to wrestling in the ring and good at promos and have a ton of charisma? 1,000% it is. So let's focus on those guys. Not just jump on this trend of like, let's pat this guy on the back and make him our superstar. I think we all have to pull back on the reins a little bit. Like, Chad Gable's going to win King of the Ring. He's going to get a crown. He's going to get a little cape and a scepter. And what's he going to say? I've been doing this for years, and I did this for you. It's you, the WWE Universe, that I'm here for. Come on, we've heard that a billion times. And everybody listening right now, 100% knows that's what it would come out of his mouth. The only other thing that would be better, the only way to make it better, is if he turned heel at that moment. But
So,
can he deliver a heel promo?
I mean, look, like, I think it's, like, historically, like, commented on by the great minds, like, people who write for the Times and the Post. They'll say that, the great critics will always say the best lines go to the bad guys.
Yeah.
Which is true. The easiest way to get somebody over is to make them a heel. Because then they can just zing the crowd or zing the local sports team, crap
What about
like that.
Avengers Assemble, Mike? Hello, biggest movie ever?
Well,
God,
what I was
this
going to say is
embarrassing.
that being a face...
I'm just kidding. I know. No, you're right.
Being a face is all about conviction. Because you have to say corny, crappy, I'm here for you. And I'd say, like, if you want to look at an example of somebody who could do that and definitely sell it, look at Kevin Owens. He's been booked as a heel since, almost day one. And then all they did was give him a stunner and say, you know what, I really hate Shane McMahon. And then everybody, oh my God, he's our hero, yay! And it's all about conviction, because he just said, I'm here, basically for these people, because they're tired of listening to you, Shane. And that turned everything around. And I don't think Gable, he's not proved to us that he can speak with that kind of conviction. Even after this, massive victory in his first King of the Ring tournament, he couldn't really make eye contact with the interviewer. He was looking away from the camera. It was, I don't know. Maybe they're not really coaching him on how to do this properly. Why are they making him do live interviews if he can't do them properly?
Yeah.
Like, set him up for success. Give him a mouthpiece, or, let him do a pre-recorded segment. And, they're not doing that.
No, and you're bringing up, like, good points, and that comes back to that tweet where if they invested in him, he could be a superstar. But then I would just come back to my point and go, why do we need to force Chad Gable? Like, I don't think he would be successful, is kind of, like, that was my main argument. But I also don't see the point in making a guy like Chad, why does he need to be a main event super duper star? Like, I think at some point we've all got to decide, like, or we've all got to agree that not everybody's going to get a chance to hold, the Universal title and the WWE Championship. Mike, I'm a Drew McIntyre fan, and he's about 12 months short of being late of holding one of those two titles. And
Literally anything.
Yeah, you're right. Anything. A year ago I had popping up in my time hop, tweeting out pictures of McIntyre holding the tag titles. Yeah, that's it.
I miss that photo where he took an injured Dolph Ziggler and carried his best friend back up the
beautiful.
ramp. Remember that?
Yeah, brings a tear to my eye to think about.
So bottom line, Chad Gable, A+ wrestler. Mike's skills, incomplete. We'll say incomplete.
Yeah. But how about the other side of this? And I just want to play this out. As we've got Samoa Joe, Ricochet, and Baron Corbin in this triple threat kind of, let's make sure nobody's sad.
Yeah, I know they're spicing it up, but this just kind of smells like, Oh God, was it Lex Luger and Bret Hart who clotheslined each other out of the Royal Rumble because they didn't know who they wanted to win?
Yeah.
It just kind of looked like, we don't really know what we want to do.
Right, like Joe couldn't take another loss, and they really like Ricochet. Blah blah blah. I'll say that. Let's just jump. This is where I wanted to go with this, though. Mike, who is winning King of the Ring?
Based on my formula, it should be Corbin.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna talk out of both sides of my mouth so that I can come back and go, see, I was kind of right. I really agree with you, and it really feels like it should be Corbin, especially if you've seen him on the social media posts this past week of the fans chanting, Corbin sucks. He really, really sucks. And Corbin went out, grabbed a microphone in the middle of a match, and started singing. I think it had to be during a commercial break, or maybe it was at the end of the show or something. But then he grabbed a microphone and started singing, Corbin's great. He's really, really great. And if you can't appreciate like the cojones it takes to do that, because they obviously didn't know the fans were going to chant that, so Corbin improv'd. But then like he could just totally let that go. But he thinks so much of like the industry and being a pro wrestler, and he doesn't want to disappear, so he goes that extra mile. I really appreciate that. So I really like Corbin, but I'm not gonna go against my last few weeks of saying Elias, because I still think he fits that mold, Mike, where we have a guy to your formula that can get over in any promo. And he's been in the ring with John Cena and The Rock and Double J. And now
and eventually Eric Bugenhagen.
Right. And he's got the opportunity now to take down Gable and then maybe even Ricochet after that.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that would happen, Matt, if they want to do his best for business, Matt. It's just, if the people who are overly critical of Baron Corbin, I don't think they've been paying attention lately. It's kind of like people who booed The Miz for a while, and it's like, well, hold on. Like, The Miz has been improving this whole time. I don't know if you've noticed it, but, that Miz TV, it's they give him the microphone because he could get any feud over as an interviewer. And I think Corbin, just hearing his voice, he has that Will Ferrell in Step Brothers, where it's just like, I hate his voice. So, like, I think he's aware of that, and he kind of uses it to get even more heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
He's an accomplished villain at this point. I think he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to make you grind your molars.
And I totally agree. I think he has come into his own. I think he's becoming Baron Corbin.
I will defend that Deep Six move, till my death. I think it's a cool move. Matt, as far as new moves that are kind of, helping to turn the tides of a wrestling show, it's Eric Rowan.
Oh my God.
I wanted to talk about this because I don't know how much time we can dedicate to it, but Big Red, the Big Sequoia himself, we knew he was going to, throw some offense at Roman Reigns, but Matt, he attacked Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, poor Daniel.
Poor Daniel. I think what's interesting for me is that if Rowan had fought Roman, I keep trying to read it, and it looks like the same name back to back. It looks like his TV microphone, actually. But I think Rowan versus Roman, it's kind of everybody leaves the match at the same level of, like, heat. But I think Rowan turning on Daniel Bryan is maybe one of the few human beings on Earth who could make Rowan really turn into a monster heel, because we always have this deep-rooted love for our little underdog.
No, you're right. If there's a match coming up or something like that, he could destroy little Daniel, and he'd be doing his job, helping build up the roster, which is definitely something they're going to need with the show going to Fox. And they can't just hope that Stone Cold's going to be there every Friday.
For sure.
I liked it. It was it made me think what a waste these last 4 weeks have been with this story, but at least it was something I didn't see coming a couple weeks ago. I wasn't in my head going, "Oh, this is going to turn into Rowan, taking out Daniel Bryan." Nobody thought that, right?
Not like that. I mean, this is turning into like the X-Files with like, double turns, and we got doppelgangers. I mean, it's very close to being like an episode of Vampire Diaries or something with these like supernatural Rowan who can clone himself into another man.
Right.
And I think it's just so like fascinating that a year ago you couldn't help but think, why is it Daniel Bryan in the main event picture? Why is Roman just always in the main event picture? And it feels like both of these guys have a somewhat interesting, or at least objectively unique storyline.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere near a championship feud. So I think just credit to somebody like Daniel Bryan to help get a crazy story like this over.
I won't 1,000% agree, because I'm going to come back to the last 4 weeks feel like, what the fuck were we doing? And talk about, let's go back 6 weeks and Daniel Bryan saying he had a big announcement to make, and nothing panning out there.
That was a little weird. I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's where I don't want to. It kind of feels like, like with Lex Luger and Bret Hart. They didn't really know where the hell they wanted to go with this. So I'm applauding the end here where Rowan is going solo. But to get there, oh my God, there wasn't like a road. This was more like a waterfall with like 3 waterfalls down the way, and you were hoping you were holding your breath long enough before your head came above the surface. So fortunately, they landed the 3 waterfalls, right? Their heads back above water, and I think they're grasping the shore. But Jesus, then you go back and you're like, why did you jump in the river when you knew there were 3 waterfalls coming up? And it's just like, I mean, that's what it feels like right now. And I'm really in love with that analogy. I'm kind of patting myself on the back right now with my mind.
I don't know. I think you're right that it did seem like, well, what are we doing here? But it kind of feels like they're getting past that waterfall, Matt. That they're kind of finding some sort of direction.
Yeah.
And it feels like the best possible scenario for all 3 guys, because we can make Roman be a face, but not rub him in our faces with every single title match. Daniel Bryan has an underdog feud where he'd have to fight the Sequoia again, away from the main event, so we can have other people do it. And Rowan, he could use some victories. He could use some comeuppance, right? So
yeah.
And he's not just going to get jobbed out to Roman as Daniel Bryan's crony. He's kind of going his own way. So it seems like a good way to keep Roman on TV, good way to keep Daniel Bryan on the microphone, and a good way to get Rowan over as his own entity. So it kind of seems like we're building 3 guys here. I like where we're going. I think the most fascinating build this week, Matt, was a wrestler who she's got a championship, but I don't think that she's really had a storyline for you to really sink your teeth into, because she's kind of had some floundering feuds. But
well, I just want to throw out real quick, with the Rowan thing. The best thing to happen out of all this was today Bray Wyatt tweeting, "Come home, baby boy."
Oh, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that's a good point too. Glad you threw that in there. But I just want to talk about Bayley for a minute. I don't know if this counts as her doing a heel turn, but she, if you missed, one of the 9 hours of professional wrestling that gets produced every week.
Yeah, you're forgiven.
Sasha Banks was going to attack Becky Lynch with a steel chair. Bayley ran in to make the save, we thought, and then she took the chair from her best friend and just started mashing Becky on the back. It was a pretty shocking visual, because we're so used to Bailey getting booked as the squeaky clean babyface, and now she's using chair shots to beat up our beloved The Man. Matt, your initial thoughts. Do you think that this is more about Bailey supporting her friend, or is this a direction we've never seen Bailey, venture into? Is she gonna go heel a little bit?
I think we're seeing a little bit of both. I know that answer sucks, but this is definitely going to lead into that moment where Charlotte and Becky, who have been butting heads for so long, will come together and be a tag team
with a common enemy. Yep.
Yeah, they'll go against Sasha and Bailey, and I gotta say, it's gonna eat up a lot of the best parts of the women's division in regards to booking matches for the next couple pay-per-views. But yeah. I'm all for it because eventually you got to figure you're building up this hatred, but then these four ladies are going to run into a common enemy because we might have a with our conversation going into NXT, we might be seeing Shayna Baszler losing her title soon. That all being said, I think, going back to your question, it has to be a bit of both. And most of it, maybe 60-40, is Bailey siding with Sasha. I mean, they were tag champs together. And yeah. I just kind of like that idea because Sasha didn't really do anything wrong to Bailey, right?
Right.
And if you well, let's think about all the times we have complained about story writing and they forget about things that have just happened months ago. I mean, Sasha and Bailey went through team building exercises and consulted a relationship advisor or counselor, and and then they became tag team champions out of it. So that wouldn't all just disappear, right? And it's not like they haven't been talking to each other. We can't assume that they've just ghosted each other. And we have seen their Instagram accounts, so we know that's not true. So I kind of like it makes sense, right?
I love what the writers are doing. I don't know if this is another thing where we give Heyman and Bischoff credit as the directors, but if you were to, pose a question, how are we going to kind of, keep the women's division fresh? We want to kind of promote the four horsewomen. What ideas would you give? I don't think a lot of us would have said, I'm going to turn Bailey heel and I'm going to make Charlotte a face. I think that would be one of the last things people would expect because of, WWE precedent, what characters are comfortable doing. And I think we kind of give Charlotte and Bailey kind of expected crowd reactions. Like when you see Bailey kind of give that polite applause, like she goes out there, she in a way does the job of you're going to be that, baby kissing baby face. And Charlotte, we know you're going to be a little condescending because, you can kind of deserve to be. You're probably the strongest woman in the division. You're the biggest woman in the division. You've won the title more than any other person. Your dad is Ric fucking Flair.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for you to be a heel because you're allowed. You can be cocky and get away with it. So
I like the idea that the writers had to go up to Charlotte and say that, and like her looking down on them. Well, you kind of deserve it,
I think we had so many months where we were like, the WWE writers, they suck. They don't know what they're doing. And I think they've been doing such a great job with like the King of the Ring tournament. Don't want to forget what they did with the Fiend.
Whoa.
Hey, man, I know Drew McIntyre fanboy. Hold on over there. I just mean, bringing it back and finding some ways to keep it interesting, keep us guessing. I was rooting for Chad Gable. My God. I couldn't believe it. And then finding a way to believably turn Bailey heelish and find a way for us to get Charlotte on the same side as Becky. Someone who, they've just been rivals, basically since they've been on the main roster together. So they found a way to keep it interesting. So I just want to give credit where it's due, and this is a spot where they've done well.
Yeah, and I'll say too, like in my head, when I start to plot that out, who am I going to root for? Becky and Charlotte versus Sasha and Bailey. I'm going to be rooting for Becky and Charlotte, and it's been really hard for me to root for Charlotte the last couple years, but I'll be in her corner. I'll be going, all in. I'll be all in on that story, and I'll be rooting for the bane of my existence. No, it's just not that
Same.
bad. But
I'm
my
going
wrestling.
double or nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of the women's division, Matt, you had some Scarlett Bordeaux news for us.
Yeah, the more I think about this, the more it might be nothing. But Scarlett Bordeaux, who's most notably had just left Impact and was with AAA, she's somebody that the AEW fanboys were sure was going to show up at All Out this past weekend. She did not, and of course the news comes out shortly thereafter. She's visiting the Performance Center. Now, if you're a huge AEW fan, what I saw on Twitter was pretty sad. Like, tweeting out, you know what she's doing? She's just trying to get more money from AEW by visiting the Performance Center. Oh my God! If that's not the most pathetic thing you've ever heard a pro wrestling fan say, comes from one of our larger competitors, Mike, in the podcasting world. Just I'm like, okay, I'm sure AEW is gonna. Here's the checkbook for you, Scarlett. This will make all the difference in our business. But this is someone too that has already fought in the WWE. And she also has a significant other in Killer Cross, who is another person rumored to be going over to AEW. And, not that Britt Baker and Adam Cole are working for the same company, but sort of the storyline is rolling out to just be Scarlett Bordeaux at the Performance Center. She's going to sign, go with NXT, and Killer Cross is going to follow behind. Are either of these individuals the greatest superstars of all time? No. I think more this story is more about the politics between WWE and AEW and what money can do for you. And of course, Mike, I think what we should transition to as well in a moment here is how that show did for AEW and whether or not a superstar watching that is going to walk away from it and go, that is how pro wrestling is done.
I think if you're watching the production department, you're probably not saying that. For Scarlett, right. I would say she's kind of a blonde Maria Kanellis. Kind of in how she carries herself is she likes having the drama around her, and I think she's really good at that. I wouldn't expect her to come in. She's not going to wrestle like Asuka. She's not going to wrestle, like Shayna Baszler. She's kind of more about, conjuring up heel heat, from being I'm better than you kind of thing. So yeah. She's, a gorgeous woman, and I think she is very well aware of that. And that's kind of the gimmick you're going to expect is kind of flaunting, female character, kind of vain. And I think she's going to be known more for her mic work than like coming in like Becky Lynch or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
no, you're right.
It'll if she is a WWE signing, I think that she's just kind of somebody to kind of divvy it up a little bit because I don't think that there are as many of those types of women on the roster at this time. And then she is gorgeous, so I think she would get a lot of eyeballs on the show for sure.
Yeah.
And if they do get signed by WWE, that's another kind of sand through the fingertips of AEW, where those pocketbooks at WWE are kind of hard to compete with. I think either company would be really happy with getting her. So, that's a win. Whoever ends up signing her.
No, that's a good capper on that. Would you? Okay, so how do you want to do this conversation? Because we had a huge weekend. I guess a huge Saturday. I thought what I wanted to do was ask you what you thought the better show was. Then we'll talk about it, and we'll come back and see if we have the same feelings.
Well, I think if you're gonna look and say which show is better, there's three entities, right? What kind of vocal performances did I get to listen to? As far as commentary goes, the music. What kind of wrestling actually took place? It is a wrestling show, so we want to know what kind of physical competition there was. And if you're spending money on a product, I think the production value is a equally important part of that equation. AEW failed again in that regard.
Yep.
I think that you could either call it a draw or give the win to NXT UK for wrestling performance, and then for the audio. I mean, it is great to hear JR, but
he is past his prime. Mike, listening to that whole show, he didn't know half the guys. He gets to, he was turning mistakes into well, hell, I don't know. Or he's new to me. Why don't you tell him? Why don't you tell me in the audience who this guy is? And it's no, man. You do your fucking homework and be JR if you're gonna get paid to be JR. I'm sorry. I think that's the long and short of how that conversation has to go with,
So,
there's a lot of people giving him a pass because he's JR, but I mean, come on. The hard time we give Michael Cole, we gotta give a hard time to JR because that was bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it's incredible how WWE keeps producing these people, because Nigel McGuinness, and I'm really starting to like Vic Joseph more. He's so good at being the straight man, where he's just kind of painting the picture, accurately announcing which move is being performed, and he really knows how to get out of the way of what's happening in the ring. His timing is really strong. He knows how to talk either before or after a move is occurring, to not steal the spotlight, sometimes like a Corey Graves can do. He's guilty of saying things like, I called it, I knew it, I said it, and that's I know Vic has a different job, but I don't feel that that kind of, you wince a little bit, listening to that, where I don't feel that way listening to Nigel and Vic. So I feel like NXT UK kind of won in that regard as well on Saturday. So you could arguably say in all three facets they did a better job.
Yeah, and I want to come back to what you were talking about, paying $60 for All Out. Mike, I mean, the bang for your buck here, if you're spending $9.99 this month for the network, in 2 weeks you're getting Clash of Champions for that same $9.99. So this is how we have to have this conversation. I mean, I think you have to go NXT UK also for utilizing let's go, the theme I always love coming back to is utilizing your assets and not overextending yourself and using them properly. So what did they do to fill out the card to make sure that the fans were getting enough? You bring in Cesaro. It's not just this mishmash of guys that are local wrestlers or indie wrestlers that are available that night, which I'm sorry to say, if we're watching the ladies 21 blackjack, whatever the thing's called,
another battle royal.
That was bad. That was clumsy. There were people tweeting right after that ignore the fact that there's people getting kicked at the wrong time and falling over at the wrong time and almost breaking their neck. And they just forgive it because it's AEW. But honestly, Mike, that match was dangerous as fuck. And it's not, we can talk about that, but I just want to bring that up for a moment to just come back to what NXT UK did. And I brought it up in my blog on bodpodcast.com, that NXT UK and NXT do it right, where they know what the stories they've built are. They know how big their rosters are. So do they give you a 12-match card? No, it's pretty consistent, Mike. We get like 4 or 5 matches, if not less sometimes.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that too? Like AEW has to have a smaller roster. They don't have the budget. They're not able to call Cesaro off the bench,
right,
to come in and pinch hit for one night. So it's just interesting that they don't have a small card where, like, the stakes for each match would be higher because there's fewer people. You know what I mean? So instead they get everybody out there, and then there's like no stakes involved. Instead of, man, this is a huge match. Like if he can win this, he's basically one match away from being the number 1 contender. You know what I mean? But instead it's just this massive, 8-9 match card with all sorts of crazy tag teams and battle royales and all sorts of names, and I don't even know who's important.
Right, and then we're learning the night of, this tag match actually means this, right. and these guys get a bye, and this person's a number 1 contender now.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my god.
This is it's still a tough situation for AEW because they don't have the TV show going yet, so they don't have those liberties they can take where we could have a shorter card because we'll just get you on TV next week. It's like they're trying to get everybody on TV, so you kind of have some familiarity with everybody, but what it ends up doing is then you have no familiarity with anyone outside of, the super elite, like the, Young Bucks, Omega, Pac, guys like that.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point.
So I think it had the reverse effect of what they were looking for. I think that's why ultimately NXT UK, it's a show that started at 2 in the afternoon, East Coast time in the United States. I think that was the winner.
Well, let's actually I don't know. Are you okay doing AEW first? Because I feel like we're gonna have more fun talking about how amazing Walter and Tyler Bate was and the Grizzled Young Vets.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think one thing I think everybody could agree on is, on short notice, after the Moxley injury, yet another staph infection, which is pretty scary stuff. Like, that means you got, cut open, basically, had a surgery for a muscle injury and it got infected, and you can die from that.
Yeah.
So he's okay, but they had to rush Pac back into AEW, and of course Cien Omega put on a masterclass. I think it was talked about earlier that those two would have been, like for the AEW championship if some things with Pac had gone differently.
Which is crazy to think that now. I mean, Pac gets the win. Right? And I think the whole thing was that Pac was going to have to lose to Kenny Omega. And that's why he said no. But I don't know. Just interesting to see how that went down, at least from storyline-wise, moving forward with AEW. And now we've got Kenny Omega can't find a win. Where, Mike, I'm going to throw this out there just because it does make me mad, all the forgiveness that AEW gets. Could you imagine if Kenny Omega came to the WWE and he lost his first couple singles matches and just looked like dog shit? I mean, dog shit of the point of, like, the win-loss record. Like, I mean, never ending. Just poison being spit at the WWE for that sort of decision-making. Now, I'm not saying that I hate Kenny Omega losing in AEW. I think it's great. And I think it just goes to that point that there's too much of this, the hot take, what do you feel right now? Let's make that the emotion going forward and not enough like, okay, what does this actually mean? I think it means a lot that Kenny Omega now has to kind of build up his character at some point to kind of like get back at the top of this roster and become a legitimate candidate for the AEW title. But I think making that decision to have Pac already start to ascend the ladder is a much better decision, because Kenny, we all, even us who haven't watched all of his matches in New Japan, we know he's a great wrestler, and we know Pac is too. But when you consider, and Omega gets rated on these wrestling lists as like the #1 wrestler in the world, Pac is great, but he's not listed that high. So you give Pac the victory, boom, top of the ladder. You can pretty much do whatever you want writing wise if it's going to be about him challenging for a title or anything like that. So at least from the aspect of like decision making, kind of want to bring that attention to AEW fans, like bring it to their attention. Like, how would you feel if WWE did this? Okay, so now calm down. But on the flip side, good choice. Have Pac win. I really liked it. That actually, going back to watching Double or Nothing, and I think we both had like that excited feeling at the end of the show. Unfortunately, this was the only match that did it for me this night for All Out. But I did have that feeling, and it got me really excited, and I went, oh my god, this is when pro wrestling's doing it right. The right guy won. The match was amazing. There's some great facial work, great story throughout the match. There's just that did it for me. Boom.
Well, I think with Double or Nothing, I think they did a better job of kind of getting the stories out. Because right now you have to really be tuned into YouTube. That's about the only way that you can progress storylines right now for AEW. So I think you and I are at a crossroads, Cody. Another New Balance joke for you. Where I want to see it actually develop. I like what I've seen on the YouTube channel. I think that's one area where, my God, they do have production value on YouTube. I don't know why they can't translate it to the show that we're spending money on. But if they could, I think that it would be a much more fulfilling program. It would be easier for you and I to sell it to people who are on the fence about watching AEW at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still can't... I don't understand how they are in these production meetings and the commentators have the notes and the wrestlers rehearse and the cameramen are just not prepared for spots.
At all.
I don't... It's unbelievable. Like, the first pay-per-view, okay. The second pay-per-view...
Right, it was free, give him a pass, yeah.
But come on, man. It's like, what the hell are we paying for here?
Yeah.
I can't believe that WWE are just that much of, these experts with the camera.
Yeah, and it's the guys in the booth too that are selecting which camera to go to, because they did get those shots of like Darby Allin doing that jump from the top rope with that barrel. Yeah. But to think, I don't even know where he's jumping to because of the cut. So yeah, they got the jump. But what was production thinking where it was like, all right, we got cut now. And then you just see him jumping from the top rope. And it's like, what the hell? For all I know, like from watching that, we didn't see, I think it was Jimmy Havoc. But we don't even see him laying down on the steps. Or it might have been Janela. I don't know. It doesn't matter. We don't see them laying on the steps. So all I see is Darby jump from the top rope and smashes back into the steps. So it's like, well, what the hell did that idiot do that for? So
he wasn't even doing any offense.
Right. So we're always you always you get the Mike, the super smart wrestling fan will tell you don't need a story going in, because they're gonna tell a story in the ring, Mike. Yeah, right? That's what we're so stupid. We don't know that. Man, we're dumb. Right. You don't know the fucking story if the camera and the production team aren't showing it to you. So riddle me that, Batman. I mean, I
know, and Jim Ross is forgetting the name of the guy in the match. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
Right. Just and part of the anger compared to like the last couple shows is the difference of throwing $60 down. Right. Not thrilled about that when I had different options the last couple times to make it a little bit cheaper. But yeah, the $60 price tag, man. we talked last week. The expectations went way up, and I think the result came way down.
Yeah.
Well, I hate saying that too because Chris M makes me so goddamn mad on our Facebook group. I'm not giving up on AEW. I think it's just there needs to be a voice like ours out there that doesn't just bow down and go, "Oh, Cody Rhodes did it, so it's perfect." No, yeah. If you're gonna leave WWE because you want a better wrestling show, you can't just say that this is fine. You can't just say, "Oh, this is okay." Even though they missed that spot, they got the next one. No,
yeah, you're allowed to ask for more.
Yeah, it needs to be perfect for $60. Yeah, because when we hit that second pay-per-view in November, that's $120, and that's 2 pay-per-views. Mike, that is what we spend on the whole year for the WWE Network, and that's all the NXT takeovers, all the NXT UK takeovers, and it's all the Raw, SmackDown main event pay-per-views too. So,
and again, it's me rewatching the Royal Rumbles ad nauseum.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, just a few extra points here to kind of drive in why we're being so critical. I don't know, dude. I mean, so I'm okay with Jericho winning. I thought that match was definitely a B-, C+. It wasn't that great. Jericho,
they gotta do something with Paige. Like I can tell he's an accomplished wrestler. I know he knows what he's doing. He's got the look. I think he's got the moveset. But why are they force feeding that slingshot lariat off the ropes?
Oh my god!
Was that 3 or 4 times?
That was driving me insane.
I think this match could have been a lot better if.
The one move of death.
No, well, this might have been a spot where I would do like a triple threat to get 2 guys over.
Yeah.
And then kind of have them play off each other. For this one, it's like if you don't have familiarity with Paige, you're just kind of like, well, I guess I'm rooting for the guy I know, and that's Jericho, but he's fighting as a heel, so I think it kind of screwed up the whole crowd dynamic. That's where maybe a third guy would have helped kind of even out, the rooting interests. So I think Jericho winning was the right choice because nobody was behind Paige, and you can't have Paige be the the standard bearer for the entire company if nobody's really, it's worse than being pro or negative if they're neutral. That's a nightmare situation, and it felt like they were a little neutral for him.
Yeah, and the mistake was at Double or Nothing. I mean, remember, he was kind of like an afterthought being added to the Battle Royal, and then he wins pretty easily. So they just kind of handed it to him. It just... Oh, excuse me. I'm doing a Rick here from Rick and Morty. Burping, talking through my burps. Yeah, so it's just that was the mistake, right? All the way back then. That's when it all started. But... you put yourself in that position. Jericho is the right choice for this match. Jericho, Mike, was not the right choice for the company. I just... I can't... I don't know. Where do we want to go here?
Okay.
Why don't we... We're running out of time.
Let me say one thing for AEW. They have hit their ceiling. For a non-weekly TV wrestling promotion, they've hit their ceiling. Now the only way to get better is to get on TNT. So for right now, basically for me, I'm punting until October.
I like that. I'll say my last critical thought is that walking away from this, the only 2 things anybody wanted to talk about was Arn Anderson and LAX joining AEW. Mike, this is your show going into TNT. We have 2 new people that just are available now because their contracts ran up at another company. So it's not like this was the plan all along. And Mike, if Arn Anderson is going to be in the main event for the AEW championship, fine. Then that moment works, and it's cool that it's the biggest moment to be on Bleacher Report and on all our rival podcasts. Sure. But if he's not going for the AEW World Championship, Mike, that should not be the 2 things that we walked away from AEW talking about. And I do want to start having fun talking about wrestling again. So let's put the capper on this because I said we'd maybe change our mind and maybe we'd like AEW more than NXT UK by the end of our conversation. But all it did was make me more angry. And I even wrote a little section here. I'm going to highlight it on our notes. I wanted that to be like our sort of like, let's give AEW a chance. But I'm just so sour on it now. I just want to skip that section. We're not giving up on AEW by any means, but we are asking for more. The same thing we do, even though admittedly we're bigger WWE fans. I'll say I am. I don't want to put Mike in that bucket, but I'm assuming you'd probably agree with that. But we are bigger WWE fans. But we've spent the last 100 episodes or 95 asking for a better WWE show. So it's okay, everybody. Like, sure, Cody Rhodes is probably a great guy to grab a beer with. So far, I haven't seen enough to say that this show is better than WWE programming or NXT. So let's move on. Mike, unless you said that was your final thought, so that's why I'm moving on.
Yes.
But if you had anything else, jump in.
Nope.
But let's go to NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff.
Woo! I mean, there's a lot of wrestling over the course of a year. In a week, there's about 9 hours that we got to keep up with, and we're going to be just adding to it here in September and October. But I think you can definitely say that Walter and Tyler Bate did one of the best matches, not just of NXT UK or of the year. I think that this is a match I could show people who are like, why do you watch wrestling?
Mm-hmm. No,
that's not a long list. I mean, I put it up there with, like Undertaker Mankind match at, at the Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm.
Like Stone Cold and Brett. Maybe like a spectacle like The Rock and Hulk Hogan, but to just see like a real, or another one, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, but I think that this match was kind of like that with the massive underdog and
little tiny Bate.
Yeah, 100 and God, what did they say he was? I think they said he was like 175 pounds for that match.
5'7".
Yeah, versus Walter, who's pushing 300 pounds and he's like 6'3", 6'4". And they just told a wonderful 40-minute wrestling story of Bate trying to overcome this Goliath, and what was so great about it was it didn't require him just using chops or some ridiculous high flying maneuvers. He got to lean on his real life big strong boy strength and just do things I've never seen a man that size do to a man of Walter's size. It was almost like watching Rey Mysterio in like WCW versus NWO Revenge, where he could powerbomb Andre the Giant. Like,
yeah. But
it was real. Like, we were watching Tyler Bate do things we haven't seen since Nintendo 64.
I learned that the biggest takeaway for me is that when you hashtag Big Strong Boy, it's spelled like fuck boy, so it's BOI.
Oh yeah. BOI. Yeah.
Yep. So I fucked up there on Twitter. Nobody was seeing Matt's Big Strong Boy tweets. But no, I think what's funny too is on social media the immediate conversation was Bate versus AJ Styles, Bate versus Daniel Bryan, Walter versus Brock Lesnar. Nay, Michael, I want to see Tyler Bate versus Brock Lesnar. Holy shit, would that be fucking amazing? To see Brock Lesnar in the ring laughing at little tiny Tyler Bate, and to see, God, pure strength. I mean, if we're going to talk pound for pound, we always do for Cesaro, the strongest man in the company. Somebody's got him beat.
I mean, look at it this way. One of my favorite spots in WWE right now is when Heavy Machinery, like Tucky, will have somebody in a hanging suplex, like hanging vertical suplex, and he'll tag in Otis, and he'll just pass the body to him.
Yeah.
How cool could it be if Otis was doing that, and he could pass the person over to Bate? There wouldn't even be a hiccup. There wouldn't be like a muscle spasm. It would just be that like smooth, just doot doot. Like now I'm holding him.
I mean, yeah.
Like
I don't know how to build that.
Like,
it'd be amazing.
So like I can't talk about Tyler Bate enough in this match. Like it wasn't just that he did power moves, because if you think about like classic power moves, like WrestleMania 3 with Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, that took some momentum from Andre the Giant to get the spin going and then the drop.
Yeah.
But Bate has that real strength where he can get you hanging, and you're just hanging there dead weight, and then he'll still lift you up over his head. Among the many spots, the overhead power bombs, body slams. He did have a traditional body slam, suplex. Gosh, I forgot the one I was going to mention now. He had a hanging German suplex where Walter just lifted his legs and he was just kind of dangling, at Bate's will, until Bate decided it was time to German him up over his own head. It was incredible, and the only way that those moves really have impact, is if he has a great dance partner, and I think that's what Walter did. For a big, non-traditional, as far as WWE signees go, body type. I mean, we're looking at, we haven't seen a guy who's shaped like this, I don't know, maybe since JBL, where he's, kind of a vicious attacker, but he's not worried so much about like a chiseled, 2% body fat kind of physique. I think that Tyler, you wanted him to really conquer this monster because he was so vicious. And you saw the burst blood vessels on Tyler's chest every time one of his knife edge chops landed. I mean, it was basically he was bleeding from the chest. Like that's how strong Walter works. And Matt, I think I don't know how many times in our lifetime we're gonna see a crowd as engaged as we did for that match on that night.
Well, I mean, I've got one.
Please share.
Mike, that you are correct. That match should get match of the year, and yes, that is one of the best matches I've ever seen. I have no problem saying that.
Tyler Bate, Tyler Bate, Tyler Bate.
The Grizzled Young Vets, Mike, losing to Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster.
The Grizzled Young Vets.
That was the best tag match of the weekend. On the other side, Mike, we didn't mention it. Young Bucks. We mentioned LAX showing up, but the Lucha Bros taking down the Young Bucks. Mike, that match is maybe something where I'm starting to see like some of the complaints about the Young Bucks. Because we're admitted, we haven't watched every single Young Bucks match. But that being the fourth match I've seen of the Young Bucks from start to finish, and not just seeing highlights or something like that. And me watching it live, I mean, we've gone back and watched this stuff on YouTube. So this is the fourth live match I've seen. It got kind of goofy. We had to watch synchronized tag maneuvers. Not synchronized to the point of like it being a performance of pro wrestling. It's two opponents who are deciding to not fight each other and put their partner in danger. Where I feel like you're forgetting that the title's on the line, you're forgetting that you care for your tag partner, and you're really just going out to do a spot rather than, you know what I mean? Like all the things we've heard from Jim Cornette. I know he's an old fogey. I'm just saying that notion, and we're supposed to say that this is more believable pro wrestling from AEW. That kind of got in my head, and I was thinking, wait a minute, shouldn't they be trying to win the championship kind of thing? And we turned around, and the other thing we had to compare it to this weekend was the Grizzled Young Vets and then Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. I mean, it wasn't just a great match, and you saw the Grizzled Young Vets want to win that match so bad.
Yeah.
But then the emotion at the end of that, you got the two boys that are actually from the area in Cardiff, and seeing that crowd just explode because there was no way. I think we both picked the Grizzled Young Vets to win this match.
Yep.
And to see them come away, God, it was so much fun to watch. I easily, again, I'll just state it again. That was the best tag match. And you can't forget Gallus. They did a wonderful job too, and they mixed in this idea that to kind of compare, this idea that I brought up. I'm kind of getting away from what my main thought was going to be. The idea that the Young Bucks and Lucha Bros got kind of goofy, and then to think that the Grizzled Young Vets lost because they were actually strategizing. They tried to take out Gallus, and then when they go for the pin, then you've got a high flying move from Mark Andrews to break up the pin, and then Flash Morgan Webster actually makes the pin after that. I know I'm not explaining it properly, but it just brought in this idea of the sportsmanship and doing, trying to make the right decision to win, and they made the wrong decision, and that's what actually lost the titles. Not just this goofy, let's see how many times we can fly off the ladder and break tables. And I'll admit, Mike, we've been fighting against the Jim Cornette notions, but shit, that was it right there, my man. Like, why aren't they trying to win? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, you and I are pretty new to the Young Bucks game. I think you just have to swallow that they don't wrestle like a straightforward, no flying, just fists kind of match. Like, yeah. It's more about playing a video game. It's more about making you gasp and doing something unbelievable. So I think you have to take that going in. And if you're gonna compare them to like Grizzled Young Vets, it's not even the same
we're doing
sport.
The apples and oranges.
Yeah. So I don't prefer to watch that style. I mean, I think every once in a while, I think it's really fun. It's like I don't drink Bahama Mamas all the time, but sometimes you're like, ooh, I could really go for a Bahama Mama right now. Like you don't just want a Scotch neat. That's what the Grizzled Young Vets are. Sometimes you want a Bahama Mama. But yeah, I thought that this match for the UK tag team titles was perfectly orchestrated. I loved Nigel. The production team said, hey, sell Gallus as Mark Coffey is unleashing Wolfie. So Wolfgang was literally acting like a wolf and just destroying people.
Yeah.
The Vets were, strategically, trying to plan out every, wrinkle. And then Andrews and Flash, they just had nothing to lose. And so they wrestled like they had nothing to lose. They put everything on the line, and I think the Andrews has had his matches at like we potentially could have seen him at Royal Rumble when they had the World at War tournament. He had the same thing for like WrestleMania opening matches. I think this was the first time I've seen a crowd like really, really get behind Mark. And I think it's because of what he did offensively in this match, where he just with his his hair was on fire. That's how he got to wrestle. So I mean, to compare like a three-way tag match versus basically a ladders match in AEW, I think more risks felt like the risks in the three-way match for the UK felt higher than what they did in a ladder match. And I don't think that should be the case if you want to say it was a successful match.
I agree with that. I think we're just coming back to that idea that we want more.
Yeah. I will say for the UK, one match that definitely surprised me was Toni Storm dropping the belt to Kaylee Ray.
Yeah.
I don't hate Kaylee Ray. I didn't think that she was like good enough to be the person who knocks off Toni Storm. I mean, we got Piper, we got Rhea, we got Jazzy, we got Ginny. We got Tegan Knox coming back. It's a massive roster of like people who could believably hold the championship. And Kaylee Ray, I think she's a good heel, but I didn't think she was at this point yet. So the only thing I could think is maybe she's going to be a transitionary champion, to kind of move it on to like a Piper, somebody like that.
Yeah, I think what had to be done with we see Rhea Ripley coming over to NXT. They have to build up the women's division for NXT UK. You can't just have Toni taking down everybody and then what do you have? And the last thing I think you and I want is to see a face Piper versus a face Toni Storm. But now we've got the story of Toni, who's kind of losing confidence in herself, and she's got to get that back. So I think there's still room for this feud to continue, and after that, maybe Toni can go on to do something else. And you're right, Kaylee Ray would be good to face some of these other faces that are on the UK roster. So I like afterwards, I went, okay, that's why they did that. I definitely liked the surprise of it because I went into this match thinking it was easily Toni's, and I like the excitement level wasn't super high. But that's when wrestling's at its best, is when they kind of remind you, we can have fun with this. Let's do something different.
It's obviously not even close to that, like what I'm going to compare it to that level of shock. Like Lesnar pinning Undertaker at WrestleMania, but
right,
like the Ray win didn't mean as much to me because I was kind of like, oh, Toni's gonna kick out, and then she didn't kick out. It's like, oh. The other thing I know we want to touch on is Cesaro, and this guy's really grown on me. Is the Ilya Dragunov?
Yeah, well, yeah. If he didn't grow on you this weekend,
oh my God. The guy is just like a living 28 days later zombie come to life, who can also like do high flying wrestling.
Yep.
He's really fun to watch. He's just oozing charisma. When he's slapping the ramp on his way up, I always think there's probably some sort of dent, and the next guy coming up after him probably trips on that dent. But it was a great showcase for Cesaro. Just another reminder of what an amazing talent he is, that basically the 50th guy off the bench can throw an A+ like that for WWE.
Yeah, he's definitely a company man. I think Cesaro's the kind of guy that WWE needs to make sure is a part of this team, part of this NXT team long after his career's over. This guy gets pro wrestling. He understands what to do for these guys, even when he's winning. And he's not necessarily, getting the guy over just from a victory. But I think we saw Dragunov is going to be fine in regards to these matches. It's not something where Cesaro, you think about, you have like the superstar lose in those kind of matches. Maybe the guy coming up isn't that polished, and that's why they're actually getting the victory. I mean, you just walked away from this, and now you can't wait for the next Dragunov match, right? Like this was perfect booking. Perfect use of Cesaro, and we even talked about like what are we going to do here with Cesaro, and it got the attention of Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I was really like. I tweeted out, I was like, oh my God, if Lin-Manuel likes this, I felt famous. I was like, when this just because he's watching the same thing I'm watching, I feel like
sophisticated as the guy who made Hamilton. Yeah, what's cool about Dragunov, too, is he's lost, like, a couple matches in a row, and it doesn't feel like it matters. Like, it's just like, I don't care, I want to see more of them. Like, they're, some little quibble happened and he lost. Like, yeah. I just want to see more of this man's career. So, just another great booking decision here. The other match, Dave Mastiff versus Joe Coffey, was fine.
I had fun with it.
It was fun. I'm not going to rewatch it at any time in my life.
We got to see Gallus get a victory here eventually, so yeah. that worked.
All right, well.
Well, let's throw out just real quick NXT tonight because we waited for this match so that we could throw it into the show.
No.
Just real quick. We'll do this. We did have Roddy Strong interrupting Velveteen Dream, so it does look like Roddy's going to be taking the North American title from Velveteen pretty soon here. So that Undisputed Era will be draped in gold. Probably I'm guessing it'll be that first episode of NXT on USA. Yep. And because or the reason that'll be happening is because Adam Cole also defeated Jordan Miles tonight. Just a great match. Jordan really showed, he's got a lot going on in the ring. Saw a promo though, midway through the NXT show. Didn't do a lot for me. Him and Keith Lee walking into the ring, kind of a vanilla, dry toast promo. He's gonna show us all who he really is.
It was a bizarre showcase because I like you said, it was a vanilla promo, and then in the ring, I don't feel like he got a lot of his signature offense in.
Right, but I think so. The way I saw that match is he was able to show us like what he can be, and just like even though his suplexes weren't as impressive as seeing Tyler Bate throw Walter around the ring, right. I think it's just good to see that we have a guy that can mix in some strength and some speed, some agility there. Just something so we can keep getting excited about, this roster expanding, and we don't go into like, this is going to be a 2-hour show now on USA. Are we going to hate that middle hour and only be excited for the half hour bookending it? I don't want to feel that way. So this is how I feel like NXT has been doing it since day one, is having the more established guys kind of, the same thing with Cesaro and Dragunov. I think I'm more impressed with Dragunov than I am with Jordan Miles, but at least from the sense of like doing the job and making it, believable. And I never really questioned if Adam Cole was going to lose, like where I thought Tyler Bate had a chance to beat Walter. But, I just, for what it was a Wednesday night, get to see an NXT Championship match. I think Jordan Miles had a good show, again, in the ring. But, I brought up the promo thing for a reason. It's kind of crappy. So let's work on that, Jordan.
Yeah, it was. I think it was super duper smooth. I think that was the best part. Like it looked like he's already going to be a great worker for the company. So.
Let's. I'm yawning here, and I got to be up in a few hours.
No, I think the best parts for me were two things. One was Roddy Strong, basically making a Saganaki Opa cheese of Dreams, Velveteen Dreams pork, beloved purple couch. So I'm pumped to see
really
that. I did. I pumped that joke on Twitter, Facebook. Yep. Now it's on the pod.
Oh boy.
The other thing I really liked was Breezango. Now they have a brand new song that sounds really cool. I don't know if you heard it, but it's like a fat disco beat. It sounds really cool instead of doing that weird hybrid, half your song, half my song. No, now they just have their own song.
This is funny, I really liked Chase Parker and Matt Martell's entrance.
Oh, really?
I really liked that song. I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was cool enough that they might get the win over Breezango.
Oh, no!
Yeah, they were building them up as they were walking to the ring. They've been wrestling together for years, and they actually had a song that had like some effort put behind it. But I was wrong. But Breezango, I like their song too. But I really like the Parker Martell song.
Oh my god. We do like to always make mention of this before we go into the sunset. Rest in peace to Tainara Kanchi, because they took her last name away.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, right. Tainara. Actually, I tweeted at her and I said, "I'll miss your last name," and she gave us a pity favorite. So thank you for that favorite, Tainara. Matt, we're past an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's our longest show in a while.
How do we say goodbye? I think it's time to say goodbye.
Yep. Remember to find us at BOD Podcast on Twitter. Brothers of Discussion on Instagram. Same thing with the Facebook and the Facebook group you can find through Brothers of Discussion as well. Go to bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com to find the hub for all things Brothers of Discussion. Of course, I wrote a blog reviewing AEW and all the problems that they need to fix. And hopefully this means that we'll start getting out some regular content. But what our main bag is this podcast. So go find us on Spotify and iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you could do that for us, hopefully we'll be having a big old boost before episode 100, where we'd like to go live for you guys. And the best way for us to build this show is if you can do us that favor and just rate and review us wherever you're listening. So thanks everybody. Thanks for checking us out, and keep on listening. We've got 5 more episodes till 100, or I guess 4, and then we're on 100.
So it's 4, and then there's...
So this one's
you
done.
You get it. You
Yeah.
get it. We're almost there.
All right,
You know
thanks
why?
everybody.
Guess we're coming. All right. Bye.
Bye.